Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to the Chronicles of the Muslimas. My name is Mayri and today I'm going to be sharing a little bit with you about my journey to Islam. From a young age, my family and I were introduced to being Catholic. My grandmother is Hispanic, and that's basically who I was raised by, along with my mother and my Latin side of the family. We were introduced to going to church, rezando, giving the Hail Marys, praying to Mother Mary and Jesus and all those type of things. But from an early age, I was always looking for the oneness. I was always looking for that connection that I could feel. Always wanting to have that just basically the connection with God. I've always felt that way, even as a small kid. Like, oh, and before I go to sleep, praying to God, like, please, God, answer my prayers, stuff like that. So, after my grandmother passed, we started studying with Jehovah's Witnesses. My auntie was studying, and she kind of brought in my mother. So from ages like 9 to 12, that's what we were doing, is studying with the Jehovah's Witnesses. And that kind of felt a little more comfortable for me. They kept it really simple. They didn't celebrate holidays like that. No birthdays, no Christmas, no Halloween, no things like that. Was more formal in the setting also. But I was still, like I said, always searching for that connection with God, and just really feeling that, oh, I'm home type feeling. So maybe a couple years after my uncle Ricky converted, he was studying also Catholic, but I guess he found his own way, and he was the first to be Muslim in my family. So he sent me a Quran. He sent my mother and me a Quran, and that's like one of the first ways I was introduced to Islam, through my own uncle. He sent the Quran. I didn't really read too much of it. I was just like, oh, okay, well, this is nice. Okay, skimmed over just a little bit. But it was basically an afterthought. I was still doing, still growing up at that time, 14 to 15 years old. I was still just, going to school, hanging out with my friends. I want to say during high school is when I was introduced to my husband. He was my high school sweetheart, and he's a born Muslim. Everyone would joke like, oh, he's Muslim, like, don't talk to him. And I wasn't really sure what that meant. As far as my uncle, I would see him, pull out his rug, bow down and pray. And, I felt that to be admirable. I'm just like, okay, that's, you're praying. What are the rest of us doing? Like, and at times he would even wrap us up, all his little nieces, and like the cloth, like basically hijab. But we didn't understand. I didn't get it then. But after I met my husband, and I started seeing what he was doing, him praying, him abstaining from eating pork and things like that, I was kind of curious about it. So from then I pulled out that Quran, that my uncle had gave me as a gift. Little did I know it was going to be one of the most precious gifts that, anyone could have given to me, because as I was reading it and started understanding, everything that came with Islam, it just felt like home. It just really touched my heart, and to really start off with it was, the chapter of Mary in the Quran. A lot of people don't really know, or, they don't feel like, Islam is relatable at all, but with just Mary, the 19th chapter devoted strictly to her, because she was a woman who devoted herself to God. She was a woman who was pious. She was a woman who was pure. Despite all of her adversities, despite everything she went through, her faith was as strong as ever. And, that kind of made me, like, really connect to Islam, because I'm like, hey, I know Mary. Like, I know her son, Jesus. Like, people make it seem like Islam is just so far off the grid, but they don't understand. So that was something that really, really got to me, and really just, opened my eyes to, Islam, and like I said, it felt like home. It came into my heart, and I took my shahada, and me and my high school sweetheart, my husband, we did get married. And so that was also like a part of my journey, like the pieces to the puzzle, basically, like I was saying before. Like, I didn't know all of these things, were gonna come together the way they did. My uncle giving me the Quran, him dressing me up in hijab when I'm little, I'm not even knowing what he's doing. Later on reading that Quran that he gave me, meeting my husband, in high school, who is a born Muslim. Like, I really feel like Allah guides who He wills. And, being Afro-Latina and not being accustomed to, Islam and, the Quran and stuff, it definitely is a journey. Like, a journey that you take and you learn through, because you don't see it as the norm. Like, you don't see that it's, something relatable when, in fact, it is. And, I want all the sisters out there, all the Muslimas, all the Afro-Latina Muslimas, any sisters, who are reverts and who, feel outcasted or anything, like, leave your emails, whatever you want, leave a comment, because, it's all about support. And going through my journey, I basically went through it alone. My family was Catholic, Christian. No one was Muslim but my uncle. And so, being a Muslim, it's hard to relate, because he's a man. But alhamdulillah, he was a part of my story in Islam, my tío, Enrique. Love you mucho. But anyways, like I was saying, if there's any sisters out there, don't feel like you're alone. Reverts, Latinas, if you have any questions, feel free to, ask me, because it's definitely something, we could all help each other with or shed light on. If you're feeling like you don't have no one to relate to, you're just confused, or you feel alone. That's how I felt at times, but I feel like it was meant to be, honestly. And I'm really proud to be, Afro-Latina Muslimana, because, it's definitely different. And, I feel like it's a part of our culture already, us wearing the hijab, like Mary, covering herself and, devoting herself to God. Wearing the hijab is a part of your devotion. So that's something that, I relate to in Islam, devoting myself to God. I do it for that reason. And, just trying to be pure, trying to be, modest in today's world. It can get difficult sometimes with how everyone else, is dressing, how they are conveying themselves. What's wrong? Oh my goodness. Come on. It's all gone? Okay. And this is Moses. He's not a happy camper right now. But that's basically my journey to Islam and how I came and the steps that I went through a little bit. It's not always going to be easy, but it's definitely worth it, I feel like. So, just keep your faith, stay strong, and know that you have the support of the Chronicles of a Muslim. We're here if you need us. And if you have any questions